That was from Brigadier General Jim Cash. Now, our first speaker of the day is going to be Mr. Andy Pryor. Andy, come on up here. He is the chairman of the American Independent Party here in Texas. Let's see, he was born in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, spent over 20% of his life living under communist rule, and nearly half his childhood overseas. This experience has provided Andy with a unique perspective on life, liberty in the United States of America. As a child, he assisted his parents. Excuse me. He assisted his parents in re-electing Ronald Reagan and campaigning for the right to life. Andy's activism stretches back over a decade as he provided opposition position on whether SMU's student body should vote to expand the school's non-discrimination statement to include sexual orientation. Andy's current efforts include lobbying Texas political leadership to correct the Texas state constitution's unconstitutional efforts to deny equal protection for all persons as expressly provided by the 14th Amendment, as well as advocating that the entire constitutional movement needs personhood as their foundation in order to be successful. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Pryor.
Thank you, David, very much. Thank you all for being here today. It's a pleasure to be with true patriots from around the state of Texas. My speaking skills are not the best, so bear with me. I'll do the best I can today. I did, however, bring a few helpful hints to help me along in this talk today, one of which is my pocket constitution. I will be reading from it, hopefully to underscore some points I'd like to make, and just to basically express part of the history of what we're going for here in the United States. As David mentioned, I did spend a few years overseas when I was a child, living under communist rule. So I've seen the dark underbelly of what totalitarianism around the world can do to human beings at all levels of life. I wasn't exactly the class clown in high school when I came back to the U.S. Most of my classmates thought I was a little too serious, because here I was looking at the U.S. going, you know what, there's things we're doing that are going to end up in the same direction. And I felt that that was something that needed to be corrected back then. Unfortunately, we've made even worse progress since then, and we're heading down the wrong path as we go. Let me take a moment just to talk about America's Independent Party. We're a very young party. We started in 2008, right before the election. To basically sum it up, the founders of America's Independent Party were tired of being stuck in a two-party system, being told no over and over again by the political bosses of the Republican Party. One of our founding members of the party had run for the presidential nomination a number of times in the Republican ranks and had done very well. But then after the first opportunity, when he did well, basically the rest of the party decided that one time was enough and they didn't want to talk to him anymore. And so they basically shunted him to the side. And that was something that he felt was finally to the point not worth sticking around for. When they wouldn't include him in debates, they wouldn't include him in opportunities to speak to the people. And so he joined with a number of fellow people, mostly Republicans, but a few independents, who determined that the Republican Party was just not worth even saving, maybe. There's some good Republicans, but the party itself was the problem. And until they got outside the party, they wouldn't be able to successfully make a difference in the United States. That man's name was Alan Keyes, and while he is controversial in some areas, and not everyone is a fan of Alan Keyes, and he may or may not be our future presidential nominations, he was a part of the founding of the party, and there was a very significant reason for his participation, along with the participation of a lot of other people in AIP. And that was the idea of personhood, and that all humans, whatever point in life we are, from those of us at the youngest ages all the way to those of us at the oldest ages, all have the right to life and the right to determine where that life is going to go and what the Lord has for that life. Basically, the point being that man can't decide that that life is not worth it. And so, looking at the Personhood Foundation, we look at the overall Constitution, and we see in the Declaration of Independence, before even the Constitution, that we have the unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the right to life is first. Without that right to life, we're not here enjoying liberty or pursuing happiness. We don't have that option. And so we get into the Constitution and we find that they say that the blessings of liberty have been chosen for us and our posterity. And most people misunderstand that. They think that that's just those of us who are alive. They forget that the word posterity means the future. We are the Founding Fathers' posterity. If we had not allowed our posterity to move forward throughout the history of the United States, none of us would be here right now. This country would have moved on, and there would not be a United States of America. Fortunately, thank God, I think we can all say there still is the United States of America, and we can still make efforts to protect it. Within the America's Independent Party, one of the things that we do is we say we're not going to be concerned with what party label you wish to put next to your name. If you share our beliefs, if you share our principles and those constitutional values, then we're going to work with you. If you don't, then we're going to, with love, show you where we disagree. And if there's some ways that we can come together, excellent, we'll work on that. If there are not, then we're going to stand back and let you do what you want to do. So to that end, America's Independent Party has created what we call the Reagan list of candidates around the nation at every level of government, local, state, and national, that we have endorsed. We've talked with these individuals. We have them on our conference calls. We have 3 conference calls a week, and we put nationally known and locally known politicians on the phone where anyone, you or me, can ask them any question we wish. And you know what? The hot seat gets kind of hot sometimes for some of these politicians. And that's the way it should be. It's not a situation where they're on the phone and they can mute out people and only accept canned questions and things like that. We're asking them direct, to the point questions. And then at the end of that opportunity, if they want to come back, excellent. They can come back anytime they wish. But we're going to make a decision as a party whether or not our principles are aligned. Sometimes we endorse a candidate, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're pretty darn close. And maybe over a few more conversations we get to that point where we can endorse a candidate. But let me give you a couple of examples. Right now we have endorsed candidates across the country, as I said, from a couple of different parties. We have endorsed some Republicans, some good ones. We have endorsed some people running for various smaller third parties. Up in New York 23, Doug Hoffman was someone we endorsed before any of the mainstream Republicans started jumping on board when they realized that his was the potentially winning option. We have endorsed major candidates such as Bill Johnson, who's running for Senate in Kentucky. It's a 3-way primary in the Republican Party there in Kentucky. And we have one personhood option. And then we have 2 other options. One of those options is basically a country club Republican, if you will. Someone who, you know, just wants to get along, and that's it. And he's the party favorite. And they're the ones that they're putting all kinds of millions of dollars into his campaign. The second option is someone who is seemingly very good on a lot of aspects, but just misses the mark on personhood. And his father is a well-known politician who's poured millions of dollars into his campaign. And that's fine. These 2 gentlemen are running a prototypical Republican Party multi-million-dollar campaign trying to win themselves a place in the U.S. Senate.